Hey everybody. So maybe this problem's giving you a little fits. So let's take a look at it. Now we see that there's some parentheses, so we're going to have to use the distributive property. And so let's take care of that first. So remember, when we use the distributive property, we're basically distributing out this -2. We're multiplying it by the 3x, and we're going to multiply it by the -4. So when I write that, I'm going to type it right here. What's a -2 times 3x? So what's a -2 times 3? If you said a -6, you're right. We're going to add that x. What's a -2 times a -4? Well, negative times a negative is a positive. So we're going to put that positive there, and 2 times 4 is 8. So did you see how we got rid of those parentheses? We just took a -2 times 3x, and we took a -2 times a -4. And for this side, we're not doing anything with the distributive property, so I'm going to just type it out again. And I'm going to put here, I'm just going to put DIST, distributive property. So now I'm going to need some more space here. I'm going to shrink that right there. All right, so now what do I want to do? I want to isolate the x. I want to get the x all by itself. Now, does it matter if you move it to the left or the right? The x? No. I am going to choose to move it to the right. Why am I going to choose to move it to the right? Well, for those of you who have me in class, you know I love to get positive x's. And not that I don't like negative x's, they're just easier to work with. It's just one less step I have to think about in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 6x to both sides. So if I add a -6x plus 6x, that gives me 0. So now I'm left with just 8. Well, what's 2x plus 6x? If you said, well, 2 plus 6 is 8, so it's 8x, you are correct. So now I have to start to isolate that 8x and ultimately isolate the x. So I'm going to need another row. And in order to do that, I need to get rid of that -16. In order to zero out or get a -16 to disappear, I need to add 16. So I'm going to put that over here right away. So if I add 16, now I have 8x left all by itself on here. And what's 16 plus 8? Is it 20? 22? Is it 24? Yeah, 24. So if you were thinking 24 all along, great job. So now I have to really start to focus in on that x. It's 8x. How do I get 8x to be all by itself? You might say, well, I want 1x. So what if I subtracted 7x? Well, the problem if you subtract 7x, 8x minus 7x is indeed 1x. But remember, TBS, so you'd have to subtract 7x from the other side as well. So now all of a sudden you have a -7x plus 24. So that does not work. It creates more headaches than anything. So the other thing I can do to get 1x all by itself is to divide it by what? 8, right? So if I divide by 8, what's 8 divided by 8? If you're saying 1, you are correct. So here it's x, and what's 24 divided by 8? 3. So that is my answer. So let's take a look at it once. Is this correct? What's 2 times 3 is 6, and what's 6 minus 16? A -10. So let's work it out on the other side. What's 3 times 3 is 9. What's 9 minus 4? 5, and what's a -2 times 5? -10. So a -10 equals a -10. I know my work is correct. So as always, if you have any questions, make sure you ask your teacher for extra help. Thanks.